Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna get started. But this is gonna be a big dump of information. So I am recording it and then you'll get an email copy sent to you right after this, just in case you need the information afterwards. But if you wanna write it down now, you can as well. I wanted to start by talking about our fundraiser because our bagels actually just arrived tonight and then we're picking up the second shipment tomorrow. We sold over 1,700 packages of bagels, which is crazy. And actually, when I went to go pick them up today, they said it's the biggest order they've ever gotten from a fundraiser. So that's really exciting. And we raised just over $3,000 for competitions. So that completely pays our costume fees for the entire year. So that's really awesome. And you guys should be super proud of yourselves. And I have a little bit of information here before we get started about our bagel pickup tomorrow. So this was actually emailed out, so you might have already seen it. But bagels have been picked up and divided tonight, and then we actually have the second shipment coming in a U-Haul tomorrow. So we would really like all the bagels, if possible, to be picked up tomorrow so that they're not staying at the studio. I'm gonna be outside in the U-Haul from 9 till 11, and then Ian, who most of the dancers know, is gonna be in the U-Haul from 11 till 1 with Miss Kylie. So they're gonna be distributing them. All you need to do is pull up to as close as you can to the booth or the U-Haul and let us know your dancer's name, and then we will fill up your car for you. So anytime between 9 and 1, you can pick them up. Also, if you have a dancer in acro, then we will just send them home with the bagels, but for most of you, it's too much for them to carry, so we still ask that you come and pick them up on your way in or your way out. So that's it for bagels. Now we're gonna get into the bulk of our meeting, which is November competition. So even though it can change at any time, and last year we were preparing for a physical competition and then it got switched to a virtual competition, which it can very much happen. We still need to prepare for it like it's going to be a physical competition. I actually just got an email from the coordinator, and even if we're in the state of emergency like we are now, it can still be in person because of how they have it set up. So as long as we don't go back to orange or red phase, then we should be fine. But of course, there'll be more information if anything changes. So the date for the competition, they have put it on a Sunday, which is a little bit unconventional. Usually it's a Friday and Saturday, but it is Sunday, November 28th. And it's at the Dieppe Arts and Culture Center. So that's one of the reasons they can continue doing it in person, is because that actually has 3 separate theaters or dance rooms within it. So they can disperse all the different studios. So it's the 28th and it's at the Dieppe Arts and Culture Center. So the first thing we're gonna get into is workshops, because a lot of you guys, it's your first time going to a competition. Oh, sorry. And there's a lot more than just going up on stage, doing your dance, and then getting an award and going home. So Sunday is a very full day. And they're actually doing 2 workshops, which are classes that are being offered by a guest choreographer or a guest teacher. Oftentimes it is the judges, but sometimes they have guest choreographers come in. Actually, at their last competition, we didn't go to it as a studio, but me and Miss Emmy and Miss Kylie went, and I was their guest choreographer for one of the workshops. So I kind of know how they run for this competition. They're an hour each, and they put all of the age groups and all the levels together in one big gymnasium, and they teach the workshop for, I believe it's 7-year-olds old all the way up to 17. It says, this is directly from the website, so it says the classes are offered for intermediate and advanced levels. You guys are considered intermediate for competition, so you guys can all go to it, even if you are a Rubies. The only people that cannot go to it is my Pearls, just because you're too young. But my Rubies, even if you are 6, because your age category for competition is 7, you get to go to the workshops. And it says that styles will be confirmed 3 weeks prior but generally they'll do a contemporary one and then a jazz/hip hop one. So they try to hit both styles. And now we're going to get more into the specifics of the competition. So you'll have 2 workshops that are dispersed throughout the day. Usually they do them one at like lunchtime, so it gives you guys a break from being on stage and competing, and then they'll do one at the end of the day before you leave. And then this here is the age ranges. So if you look, they're very, very broad for the Atlantic competition. So 8 and under, 9 to 12, 13 to 17, and adult. This means by looking at just the ages that a lot of our groups would be competing against each other. For example, our pearls and rubies would be against each other. I'm just trying to see here. Our amethyst and emerald would be against each other, and then our sapphire would be in the teen category. However, that's actually not the case, which the next slide will show you. So what they do to make up for the very broad age ranges is they have a ton of styles. So usually when you go to competition, there's only maybe 5 or 6 categories. And then there's a category called open, and that's just kind of where they put everything else that doesn't fit into those 5 categories. Here they have, I think, over 12, and this isn't actually all of them. So it really makes it so we can try to make our dancers not compete against each other for overall awards. I can just, by looking at the list, I know that we have solos going in jazz, ballet, lyrical, modern, contemporary, street jazz, hip hop, novelty, character, just on this list. So we really try to disperse them so you're not all competing against each other for awards. However, it can definitely happen. We had 2 juniors competing against each other all year last year, and that can happen, but we're still a team, so we still support each other. And for amethyst, I'm trying to make sure I get the group names right. For amethyst and emerald, I've been getting a lot of questions from the girls if they're going to be competing against each other because of the age ranges, because some of them looked them up online. The answer is no. So your group dances are not going to be competing against each other in the style category. So for overall age division awards, you will be. But my amethyst team is competing in lyrical, and my emerald team is competing in jazz. So you will not be against each other for any overall awards besides your age award. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for just 1 second. And if somebody has a question about ages, styles, or the workshops, if you want to unmute yourself, you can. Okay, perfect. We're gonna keep going. And if you ever want to just go back and look at the information, you can. If you're wondering about pricing, I just got 2 messages on that. We're going to talk about that at the end, and you'll see that it's included kind of in your cost breakdown for workshops. Okay, so the next thing that we can talk about is, of course, we have our solos going, our duos and trios, which are paid for in advance because people are taking private. So those are our soloists, if you're wondering how those were chosen. But there's 2 open opportunities is what competitions call them. Every competition you go to, they'll have different open opportunities. And this is really important for parents to listen to because the studio does not choose who gets put into these. Basically, if you say you want your child to do them, then we will put them in it and help them get prepared for it. And you pay the entry fee, and that's basically it. So the 2 opportunities are Miss Photogenic. So Miss Photogenic, if you read, it's basically like it would be in a pageant. So the dancer needs to send a picture of just themselves in a dance pose, and usually it's 4x6. They mark it on a whole bunch of different things: the originality of a pose, also facial expressions. So you'd want to make sure that you send them one that has their full face showing and maybe some emotion and overall appearance. We also provide the costumes for this. So if you are interested in doing this, we would tell you maybe the best pose for your dancer to do and the costume that would go well with it. And we would set all of that up. So if you are interested in Miss Photogenic, you kind of, usually you get a little tiara, but sometimes they do sashes or trophies. So if you are interested in that, then please just reach out and email me after this. It's $25, tax included. And usually most dancers do it just because it's kind of fun, but it's definitely not required, and we won't mention it again. It's just if it's kind of there if you want to do it. And then the last one is improv dance. So all of my dancers on here know we do improv a lot, which is short for improvisation. So basically you go on stage, the judges select a song. It could be something that's very popular. Usually it's something you've never heard before. You listen to it for 20 seconds and then you improv, so you make up your own dance for 1.5 minutes. So this is something, usually if there's a lot of people that are enrolled in it, they'll have about 10 people on stage at a time and they'll eliminate people as they go. But if there's not very many people, then you would do it on your own. So you definitely have to feel confident in going up on stage by yourself and improvising. And usually, and in the case for this competition, they will have one upbeat kind of jazz funk song that they will play. And then they would have a slow tempoed song, which I know is a lot of our lyrical dancers and contemporary dancers' favorite. And you get to choose. So if you want to just do the slow song, then you can pay the $45 and just do the slow song to be considered for it. Or if you want to do both songs, then you pay $75. Or you can reverse it and just do the fast one. So again, that's something that we won't kind of bring up again. It's just one of the 2 open opportunities the competition does. And if you're interested in doing that and paying for that, then we will make sure that we have you set up and ready, and we'll do some practices on it. So those are the 2 open opportunities. I'll just stop talking for a second and see if anybody even wants to just put the thumbs up emoji so that I know you have a question. You can do that. Okay, I don't see anybody. If I'm missing you, then make sure you just message me and we'll continue along. So now we're getting into competition fees. Every competition is different. I will say though that this is the cheapest competition I have ever seen, which is good because it's a great one to start our season with. So before I go any further breaking it down, if you look, there's some that are highlighted in blue. So anything that is highlighted in blue, which we've already talked about, photogenic and impro dance, but also duos and trios and solos, the parents pay the entirety of that cost. That is because the studio does not choose who goes to competition with their solos, their duos, or their trios. They're paid privates by the parents, so they would pay that cost. So basically we enroll every soloist that has a private this year. And if you don't want to go to competition with your solo, then please just let us know, so we don't enroll you in it. So just to reiterate that, if you're on our schedule at all and you're booked for a half-an-hour private lesson per week, then we're assuming that you're going to competition in November with that solo. So you would be paying the $75 fee, or if you're in a duo, then you'd be paying that $50 fee. The only exceptions to this, and this is important for some dancers, is for the trios, which means that there's 3 dancers dancing. If you are on the Pearls team, which is the dance Route 66, so you'll know who I'm talking about. If you're on the Pearls team, then that's considered a group dance. It's just there's only 3 of you, so we pay, consider that like it's in the green category, so we pay 50%. Also for Kenzie and Kenzie and Emmy, your duo is considered paid half by the studio because it's something that I decided to choreograph. And also Kylie and Emmy's duo is paid by the studio 50%, but those are the only exceptions. To continue, all of our group dances, so if you are assigned Pearls, Ruby, Emerald, Amethyst, or Sapphire team, and you are in a group dance, which all of you would be, then that is in green. So the studio has just always decided to pay 50% just to make it a little bit easier on the parents. So it says $30 each there, but you would only be paying $15 per group dance. So that's the total amount that's written down there. But the studio would be paying $15 and you'd be paying $15 and taxes already included. So it's the group dances, for some reason at this competition, it's very, very cheap. Usually it's about 50. Sometimes I've seen it be 70, but it's great. And they made it 30. So you'd only have to pay $15 per group dance. We don't really need to go into if your dancers group is a small group, large group, or extra large group because they all cost the exact same. So yeah, and you can also think of acro team. So if you're on acro team or the elite competition team, the small group, then those are considered group dances as well. So if you are on one of the gem teams plus one, like the acro team or the select team, then you would have 2 group dances going to competition. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, that basically covers competition rates. I know that's the hardest or maybe most information thing in this presentation. So if you have any questions, then please let me know. I'm just making sure there's nothing else I have to say. I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, no, I think we're good. Oh, actually there is one more thing. So I know that it's kind of hard to know maybe if your dancer is on a few different teams, how many group dances they have, and maybe they're also a soloist or they were also chosen for a duo. We will actually send you a month before competition and 2 weeks before the payment is due. We will send you a breakdown of how much you owe for this competition. And we will also make sure that if you only have to pay for half because it's a group dance, then it will only show the $15 instead of the $30. I'm just gonna check my messages because I have some questions. Oh, okay, someone just asked if I was gonna be sending out the total. So that's what was just on there. Okay, so the workshop fees. So we talked about the 2 workshops. Every competition you go to, there will be workshops, and usually you have to pay for them separately. Maybe the reason the group dances are actually or group prices are so cheap is because this competition has mandatory workshops, okay? So you actually don't get to choose if you're over 7 years old. Or actually here it says 6. So if you're over 6 years old, you don't get to choose to pay the workshop fee. It's kind of like your dancer fee, like when we went to Limelight dance competition. So it's $50, taxes included, for all of our dancers, okay? So even if you are a staff member of mine, you're considered a dancer over a teacher. So it's $50. Yes, and it says here from the website, please note registration for workshops are mandatory for all at all competitions. So if you're between 6 and 34 years old, you have to take them. I'm also taking them, so we're just gonna all do it together. But it's a really good experience, especially since we come from a small town studio, to work with choreographers whenever you can. Also, every workshop, they pick one student and they actually give them their registration feedback. So they do that just kind of as an incentive for the people that are working hard. So that's your workshop fees. And that's it for any costs and fees. So this competition does not have a dancer fee on top of the workshops, which some do, just basically to get you in the door and give you a dressing room. This competition only has the cost per dance and the workshop fees. And once you've paid that, you're good to go. Okay, so now we're going to talk about awards and cash prizes. This is the last kind of portion, but I know my dancers always love to know. And that's usually the first thing they ask is what they give out for awards. So this competition gives out a very diverse amount of awards. For group dances, first place gets trophies. I've seen them and they're beautiful. So the trophy would stay at the studio, just like our plaques and trophies now. And then you also get a first place ribbon for all of the dancers, okay? So it's not a medal like Millennium was. It's ribbons for the dancers and a trophy overall. And then second and third place gets ribbons as well. For solos, duets, and trios, first place gets trophies again, but second and third place get medals. So basically for solos, duos, and trios, they replace the ribbons with medals. Also, there are crowns awarded to top soloists, duets, and trios for each age category. So I know a lot of my dancers watch Dance Moms, and when they go to nationals, they get tiaras instead of trophies. So I guess that's what they do for the awards here. Your ribbons, your medals, and your crowns you take home with you, okay? The only thing that stays at the studio for any competition we ever do is trophies and plaques. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the last thing for awards is studio cash awards. So there's lots of studios going to the competition. So usually we don't really need to worry about this because they only do one big overall cash award, and it usually goes to a very large studio with a lot of dances. However, they've broken it down this year into smaller cash awards for each high score. So if you win high score jazz or high score ballet, you get, I think it's $50, and the most that you can get is $100. So what we've decided to do, instead of if somebody wins it, putting it towards their registration or something like that, any cash awards that we get all year, we're just going to put back into the competition team fund, and it will pay for gas and carpooling and costumes and stuff like that. Okay. So this is more for the parents. So as of right now, they are assuming that we can have spectators, but it will be limited to one per dancer. Okay, so that's kind of where they're at right now. It could definitely change to more or less, depending on what COVID-19 protocol is at the time. They are following the same guidelines we are as a recreational activity. An indoor recreational activity. So you definitely have to include proof of vaccination if you are over 12 to get into the theater. And the admission fee is usually between $15 to $20, depending on the theater. So they haven't specified that yet, but that's something just to kind of keep in mind. I also know that they give you a wristband at the door. So if you are planning on coming in the morning and then maybe your husband or somebody else is planning on coming in the afternoon, then you do have to pay that twice. So that's one thing they do, is they don't give you a ticket, they give you a bracelet. And we will keep you updated on the COVID, if COVID changes anything for that. Another question I've been getting recently is drives for competition. So we actually have been really lucky this year, and we've been donated by the Lions Club. They've given us four $50 gas cards. So usually we would give those to the people that are carpooling, but we're not going to decide that until closer to the event, just because we don't know what the COVID guidelines are going to be. I would say please expect that you're probably going to have to drive your own dancer on Sunday. So make sure there's somebody that can drive them to and from the competition. And if your dancer is under 10, we strongly recommend that you stay for the day. That's just kind of the protocol that the competition puts out there as well. But there's lots of stuff to do all day, so you definitely won't be bored. And if you are planning on carpooling with somebody because they are considered in your bubble, then we will talk about that as it gets closer. And if everything opens up, which I doubt will happen, but if things get a lot better and we can carpool into 4 big vans or something, then we will be distributing the gas cards. If not, we will hold off until the next competition. Okay, and this is the second last piece of information. For my seniors, especially my Sapphire team, you guys have been asking this, what should I be booking off for work? So this is good for parents as well, so you know what to expect for the weekend. So even though it's only a Sunday competition, please expect your kid to be, or your dancer to be busy all weekend. This is because Saturday, even though there's no competition, that means that our dress rehearsal will be that day. And we'll also have a packing team bonding activity in the afternoon to make sure everybody has everything that they need. And then Sunday is competition day. Because it's a one-day competition, which they had to do because of COVID, it will most likely start at 8 or 9 a.m. and it will go all the way until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, because they're trying to fit in almost 3 days worth of dances. Also 2 workshops. So it will be a very busy day. It's definitely an all-day event. And I put here, when you're not doing workshops or competing, we watch the other groups from our competition team to cheer them on. We also cheer on and meet other schools. And then we do fun activities, and we have movies planned and stuff in the dressing room. So we do expect you to be there all day on Sunday for sure, and for a few hours at least on Saturday for a dress rehearsal. Okay, and the last thing is, what do we need to bring? That will be an extensive list sent out depending on what group you're in, because I know my Sapphire team has a lot more dance clothing and stuff they need to bring with them than, say, maybe my Pearl team, who has just one costume. So it really depends on the group, and you will be sent a list at least a month prior. It'll probably come sooner because I know me and I'm already getting excited. But it will include what dance wear you need, so maybe tights, ballet slippers, etc. All the makeup you need, and your hair accessories. So your bobby pins, your hair elastics, your clear elastics, all of that stuff. And then it will include your food and water, and your dinner, because we're going to be there for supper time. And then it will also have a list of things not to bring, like your earrings, if you can take them out, nail polish, fake tattoos, all of that stuff. So that was my last slide. I know it was a lot of information in a short burst. I will also make sure that this recording is sent to you guys. And the most important thing that I wanted to go over was definitely the rates and fees, so everybody kind of is on the same page for that. And you do know that there's an additional expense coming up in a few months. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to leave it there. I hope everybody has a good night, and I hope everybody's starting to get excited, because even if it gets canceled and it's not a physical competition, we still need to make sure that we're working hard the next not even 2 months, so that we are ready for it, even if it gets turned to virtual. So I'm just gonna unshare my screen. Perfect. And you guys are free to go. I hope I get to see everybody in person soon, but I definitely think this is the best way to do it, just because of the vaccination thing going on right now. And I want to make sure everybody could get the information. So if you don't have any questions for me, you're free to log off. And if you do, then you can just stay signed on until everybody is gone.